Grade 6 ELA Research Task, Book 2 for the IA4. Today you will research how zoos impact animals. You will read one article titled "The Stripes Will Survive." Then you will read one passage titled "The Zoos Go Wild," and view one video titled "Behind the Scenes with the National Zoo's Lion Cubs." As you review these sources, you will gather information and answer questions about how zoos impact animals so you can write an essay. The Stripes Will Survive by Jacqueline Adams. Dania nips his mother's furry back over and over, and as if he's trying to see how many times he can get away with it. It doesn't seem like a very smart game, considering Mom is a Siberian tigress. But Dania and his twin sister, Daisha, know how special they are to their mother. They're also special visitors who travel to Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo in Ohio for a glimpse of these rare cubs. But if Siberian tigers weren't so rare, Dania and Daisha would have never been born. 100 years ago, no one worried that the world might run out of tigers. 100,000 tigers belonging to 8 different subspecies prowled the forests and jungles of the world. But today, 3 subspecies, the Balinese, Caspian, and Javan tigers, are now extinct, and a 4th, the South China tiger, is almost extinct. Fewer than 5,000 tigers roam the wild. Only about 400 of those are Siberian tigers, which are the largest, lightest colored, and longest furred tigers, and only 500 Siberian tigers live in zoos. In 1981, the American Zoo and Aquarium Association, AZA, started the Species Survival Plan, SSP, to make sure that threatened and endangered animals don't disappear. The members of the Tiger SSP teach the public about the plight of tigers and do research. They keep a computerized family tree of zoo tigers that help match males and females for breeding. The Tiger SSP's computer program matched 4-year-old Gaia from Minnesota Zoo with 15-year-old Tatcha from the Milwaukee Zoo. The tigers met at Cleveland Metro Parks, and Dania and Daisha were born a few months later. When the twins entered the world on April 4, 2001, each was a full 2-pound ball of woolly striped fur. Tiger fathers in the wild don't help care for their cubs and sometimes try to kill them. Tatcha, whom zookeeper Steve Gove describes as a mellow tiger, gets along well with Gaia and likes watching his cubs play. Although the zoo staff members keep Tatcha in a separate area, they don't think he would hurt the cubs. Gaia had never had cubs before, but Gove says she's been an absolutely perfect mother, tolerant, loving, and protective. In the wild, tiger mothers teach their cubs to hunt. Dania and Daisha won't need to hunt, but Gaia teaches them chasing and stalking techniques as well as how to swim and groom themselves. These lessons are pure fun for the twins. As soon as his sister's back is turned, Dania crouches, then pounces, and the two roll across the grass in a wrestling ball of stripes and teeth, but she'll get him back later. Maybe when he's splashing in the pool during his swimming lesson or struggling to carry the piece of log he's turned into a toy. They'll make a toy out of anything, says Go. Grooming lessons come in handy for playful cubs who can't resist rolling in the mud, Gove explains. Sometimes they're so black you can hardly see their stripes when they come in at night, but they're completely clean by morning. Mom has taught them to wash their fur with their tongues, and swallowing a couple pounds of mud doesn't seem to bother them a bit. If mud doesn't sound very tasty to you, how about raw horse meat? Tatcha would tell you, if he could, that nothing's more delicious. On some nights he lets supper sit for a while, but on horse meat night he cares about nothing else until he's eaten every bite. Dania crouches jealously over his slab of meat. If Mom or Sis wanders too close, he lets out a deep growl that sounds as if it should have come from a 500-pound father. from his 500-pound father. With supper over, everyone in the tiger building is content. Gaia and the cubs are pretty friendly, says zookeeper Kurt Gendelsberger, proving him right. Gaia strolls on the fence and rubs against his hand like a 300-pound house cat. The tiger family seems comfortable in Cleveland, whether the weather is similar to that of their natural habitat in Eastern Asia. But the time may come to move on. Tatcha has 2 cubs at 2 other zoos. Tatcha, who has 2 cubs at 2 other zoos, will probably leave. The tiger SSP may also transfer 1 or both cubs to zoos where they will raise their own families. The Denaya and Dacia will help make sure Siberian tigers are around for a long, long time. But what about 400 Siberian tigers left in their natural habitat? How will they survive? The World Wildlife Fund and other organizations are working with the Russian government to set aside protected areas for these big cats. Rangers patrol for poachers, and educational programs help the local people understand the need to protect Siberian tigers. These efforts seem to be working. The WWF believes that the number of Siberian tigers in the world has doubled since the anti-poaching patrols began, bringing the tiger numbers from around 200 in 1994 to about 400 today. 20. Part A. What does the word plight mean as it is used in paragraph 4 of The Stripes Will Survive? A desperate situation. B, hiding place. C, movement. D, recovery. Part 21, Part B. Which sentence from the article supports the answer to Part A? A, 100,000 tigers belonging to 8 different subspecies prowled the forests and jungles of the world. Paragraph 3. B, fewer than 5,000 tigers roam the wild. Paragraph 3. C, the tigers met at Cleveland Metro Parks and Denaya and Dacia were born a few months later. Paragraph 5. D, although the zoo staff members keep Tatcha in a separate place, they don't think he would hurt the cubs. Paragraph 6. 22. Part A. The author makes the claim that steps have been taken to help endangered tigers. Select the main strategy used throughout the article to help develop the claim. A, the author explains a problem and then presents solutions. B, the author details the cause and effect of an event or action. C, the author shares important events or actions in their order of importance. D, the author presents a detailed list of problems. Part B. Select 3 pieces of evidence that support the answer to Part A. A, they're also special to visitors who travel to Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo in Ohio for a glimpse of these rare cubs. Paragraph 2. B, but today 3 subspecies, the Balinese, Caspian, and Javon tigers, are now extinct, and a 4th, the South China tiger, is almost extinct. Paragraph 3. C, they keep a computerized family tree of zoo tigers that help matches males and females for breeding. Paragraph 4. D, Tatcha, whom zookeeper Steve Gove describes as a mellow tiger, gets along well with Gaia and likes watching his cubs play. Paragraph 6. Grooming lessons come in handy for playful cubs who can't resist rolling in the mud. Paragraph 9. 100,000 tigers belonging to 8 different subspecies prowled the forests and jungles of the world. Paragraph 3. G, the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, and other organizations are working with the Russian government to set aside protected areas for these big cats. 24. Part A. What is the author's main purpose in The Stripes Will Survive? A, to describe the different lessons Gaia teaches her cubs. B, to explain recent changes in how zoos raise Siberian tigers. C, to explain the efforts being made to preserve Siberian tigers. D, to describe how Denaya and Daisha interact with their parents. 25, Part B. Which sentence from the article supports the answer to Part A? A. It doesn't seem like a smart game considering mom is a Siberian tigress. Paragraph 1. B. Only about 400 of those are Siberian tigers, which are the largest, lightest colored, and longest furred tigers. Paragraph 3. C. And only 500 Siberian tigers live in zoos. Paragraph 3. Or D. Rangers patrol for poachers and educational programs help the local people understand the need to protect Siberian tigers. Paragraph 14. Read the passage titled "The Zoos Go Wild" from the book No More Dodos. You will use it as a source for an essay. The Zoos Go Wild from No More Dodos by Nicholas Nergiotis and Theodore Nergiotis. The small lowland gorilla was 3 years old, and when he was caught by poachers, people who illegally kill or capture wild animals, he was taken away from his mother and out of his African rainforest home. Few gorillas that age could survive such an ordeal, but this one was lucky. Soon after his capture in 1961, an animal trader sold him to Zoo Atlanta. He spent the next 27 years of his life alone in an indoor cage. Zoo personnel named him Willie B, after William B. Hartsfield, the mayor of Atlanta. Willie's keepers wanted him to be happy. They hung an old tire from a wall of his cage and put a television set in one corner. They hoped these toys would keep Willie from being bored, but the tire and the television set were hardly the playthings a growling gorilla needed. By age 12, Willie had grown into a magnificent 460-pound, 6-foot-tall silverback, a mature male with a distinguished streak of silver hair on his back. His broad chest and powerful arms made people think of King Kong. They crowded in front of his cage to see him. Gorillas are gentle, shy creatures despite their size and fearsome appearance, but confinement in a cramped cage and lack of exercise had made Willie restless and bad-tempered. He grew fat, lazy, paced in his cage, and ignored visitors. His cage was a real prison, and Willie B was a very unhappy gorilla. A turning point in Willie's life came in 1988. That year, Zoo Atlanta opened the Ford African Rainforest, a brand new home for Willie and the zoo's other lowland gorillas. It was a large open-air enclosure designed to resemble the rainforest of Willie's native Central Africa, the way Willie likes it. Willie's rainforest home is just one example of the far-reaching changes that have taken place in zoos in recent years. Zoos no longer feel their primary mission is simply to collect and display as many different species of animals from around the world as they possibly can. They no longer believe that the more unusual animals a zoo has, the better it is. Instead, zoos are changing into conservation parks that cooperate to help save animals threatened with extinction. The first step toward this goal was to get rid of the cages and change the way zoo animals lived. When Willie was let out of his cage into his new home, he found himself in a large, grassy area leading to a gradually rising, rock-covered slope. All around the edges of the slope were trees and plants similar to those in his African home. In no time, Willie acted like a different animal. He was no longer bored or easily angered. There were trees, branches he could pull to test his strength or bend into a nest for his afternoon siesta. And there was a rocky hillside he could climb. More important, he had company. He shared his new home with 3 females, and other groups of gorillas lived nearby. Willie could finally act like the silverback he was. He could have his own family and be the dominant male. Willie had not lost the instinct for peaceful family life that gorillas live by in the wild. He watched over his family when it was feeding or resting, ever alert for danger. His companions could chase each other and wrestle, knowing he was there to protect them. Every so often, he would cup his hands and thump his chest to show the females and nearby rival males who was boss. Willie B had finally become a real gorilla. In February 1994, he became a father as well. 3 other gorilla groups share Zoo Atlanta's African rainforest enclosure with Willie's family. They are kept apart from each other by trees and small hills that mark their territories, just the way it would be in Africa. The gorillas spend their time looking for bamboo shoots and leaves to eat, grooming each other, napping between meals, or just resting. Willie's story has a happy ending, but the best part is that he is not alone in his good fortune. Thousands of other animals throughout the world have been moved into new homes that replace the old cramped cages in which they lived before. Lessons from Germany. Housing animals in an open-air natural enclosures is not a new idea. The first to use such a setting was Karl Hagenbeck at the Hamburg Zoo, Germany in 1907. He moved antelopes into a grassy open area. To add a touch of drama, he placed a pride of lions just behind them. Visitors to the zoo were startled to find lions next to antelopes. They could not see the moat that separated the predators from their prey. Hagenbeck's novel idea of allowing animals to move about freely in large open spaces caught on. He was asked to redesign the Detroit Zoo in the 1930s. His ideas were also used in the New York's Bronx Zoo, Chicago's Brookfield Zoo, and the San Diego Zoo. But large-scale redesigning of zoos didn't begin until the 1960s, when natural habitats of wild animals around the world began to shrink in size, and scores of species dwindled to the point of vanishing. Zoo designers traveled to the animals' natural habitats in far. Oh, whoa! What are we doing? Here we go. In faraway places of study, not only what the habitats looked like, but how the animals used the space and behaved in it. Housing animals in spaces that were as close to the animals' habitats as the designers could make them was an important step in the struggle to save endangered species. Part A. Read the sentence from paragraph 14 of the passage, "The zoos go wild." Housing animals in spaces that were as close to the animals' habitats as the designers could make them was an important step in the struggle to save endangered species. What does the word endangered mean as it is used in the sentence? A. Distant. B. Aggressive. C. Frightened. D. Threatened. 27 Part B. Which detail from paragraph 14 of the passage supports the answer to Part A? A. Large-scale redesigning of zoos didn't begin until the 1960s. B. Dwindled to the point of vanishing. C. Zoo designers traveled to the animals' natural habitats in faraway places. D. How the animals used the space and behaved in it. 28. Part A. Which detail from the passage "The zoos go wild" support the idea that Willie changed after being moved into his new home? A. The comparison of the grassy area to Willie's African home. B. The mention of Willie's large size and magnificent appearance. C. The description of Willie's behavior with his companions. Or D. The comparison of Willie to gorillas that live in the wild. 29 Part B. Which paragraph from the passage best supports the answer to Part A? A. Paragraph 7. B. Paragraph 9. C. Paragraph 10. D. Paragraph 11. Part A. In the passage, "The zoos go wild," how does the author show the animals surrounding affects their actions? A. By describing how Willie used a tire on a rope as a toy. B. By describing Willie's early life in the wild. C. By describing Willie's behavior when he began living outdoors. D. By describing how Willie grew in height and weight. Part B. Which sentence from the passage supports the answer to Part A? A. The small lowland gorilla was 3 years old when he was caught by poachers, people who illegally kill or capture wild animals, paragraph 1. B, but the tire and the television set were hardly the playthings a growing gorilla needed. Paragraph 2. C, his broad chest and powerful arms made people think of King Kong. Paragraph 3. D, he was no longer bored and easily angered. Paragraph 8. Behind the Scenes with the National Zoo's Lion Cubs by the Smithsonian Institution. Video. You will watch a video with the class. It is titled Behind the Scenes with the National Zoo's Lion Cubs by the Smithsonian Institution. Take notes as you watch the video, then complete the questions. 32, Part A. Read the sentence from the video, Behind the Scenes with the National Zoo's Lion Cubs. They were nervous when they first came out and not sure of what his new terrain was that they were walking on. 2 minutes and 28 seconds. What does the word terrain mean as it is used in the sentence? A, ground, B, position, C, location, D, structure. Part B. Which quotation from the video best supports the answer to Part A? A, we finished our last round of exams for the Cubs. The youngest litter of Cubs just received their 12-week exam with their rabies vaccination, and they've been given a clean bill of health. So we think they're about ready to go outside. All 7 Cubs. B, and so we know lions aren't typically big swimmers. They don't gravitate towards water, but Cubs will be Cubs, and we feel that inevitably somebody's going to play around and knock someone else into the moat. C, we just put the Cubs out for the first time and they had a trail run out in the yard. D, they stayed away from the areas we wanted them to stay away from, and we think they're about ready to meet the public. Part A. Read the quotation from the video Behind the Scenes with the National Zoo's Lion Cubs. Caring for the Cubs can be pretty challenging in that we have to stay away. 47 seconds. How does the quotation contribute to the development of ideas in the video? A, it is used as an example of the challenges the curator faces at the zoo. B, it introduces how the lion cubs were cared for at the zoo. C, it is used to summarize the challenges the zoo faces. Or D, it explains why why the zoo is unable to take care of the lion cubs. 35, Part B. Which detail from the video supports the answer to Part A? A, we've gone from having 2 females together and 1 male to having 10 cats all together in one big pride. 39 seconds. B, the initial desire of everybody is to run and put your hands on them to see how they feel, to see what their health is like, when in reality the best thing for the cubs, especially just after they're born, is to leave them with mom. 54 seconds. C, one of my jobs as a curator is to work very closely with veterinarians. 1 minute 21 seconds. D, we've had not only 1 litter of lions born, but we've had 2 litters of lions born. You just feel like, wow. 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Select and circle one central idea that is developed in all 3 texts. Then select and circle one sentence from each text that supports the central idea. Central idea. It is rare to be able to watch the birth of a wild animal. Animal enclosures should be made as realistic as possible. Zoo animals instinctively take care of their family as they would in the wild. Endangered species need to be protected from problems caused by people. The stripes will survive. He was taken away from his mother and out of his African rainforest home, paragraph 1. His companions could chase each other and wrestle knowing he was there to protect them, paragraph 9. Thousands of other zoo animals throughout the world have been moved into new homes that replace the old cramped cages in which they lived before. Paragraph 11. But large-scale redesigning of zoos didn't begin until the 1960s, when natural habitats of wild animals around the world began to shrink in size and scores of species dwindled to the point of vanishing. Paragraph 14. Sorry. Behind the scenes with the National Zoo lion cubs. Let mom do all the work she's supposed to do and let nature take its course. 1 minute, 8 seconds. Once they turned 4 weeks of age, we began with a very simple visual exam. 1 minute, 24 seconds. So we took them outside to make sure that they could swim and that they could reliably find their way back to the shore. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. I think the National Zoo is extremely lucky in the situation that we've had unfold here. Uh-oh. There we go. Essay. You have read 2 texts and viewed 1 video that claim that the role of zoos is to benefit animals. Write an essay that compares and contrasts the evidence each source uses to support this claim. Be sure to use evidence from all 3 sources to support your response. You must pre-write for your essay on your scratch paper.